So, for our class today, it'll be really different. I think all three of you are here Monday. This class, we're going to rock and we're going to roll, and that means like rocking kind of this way. Rolling is a lot of circles. So, we'll be in constant motion, everything we do, and I'll be less specific about details within alignment, and it's more about just kind of this movement in general. So, I'll say more about that as we go along. I'll recommend starting in a cross-legged position, and then before we become still, let's just take a little wiggle. Yeah. And see if you can feel your sitting bones and let them drop back a little bit. And then gradually let the wobble just start to become a little less and a little less until you find yourself right in the middle. But instead of trying to hold still, there might be that little bit of a wave going on. Yeah, so let's keep that idea as you close the eyes, or if not close the eyes, just let the eyes relax. Yeah, and start to tune your attention more inward, noticing the rhythm of your breath. And in spite of any noises or distractions or anything going on outside of you, see if you can find that internal place. And you might feel that the breath is creating a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of movement through the body. Whatever that may be, just let it happen. Go with it. And then from here, friends, we'll allow the head to bow down, the spine round. We'll rest the hands here on the knees and then lean to one side so the elbow and forearm around the thigh. And then we'll come forward, go to the other side, and then come back. So with the hands on the knees, it's kind of like a pull, pull, push, push. And that pull, pull, push, push moves the whole torso around. Yeah, so we'll take that a couple of times. And then let's change and go a couple of times the other direction. Notice the way your weight shifts, your base changes as you're making these circles. Yeah. And then let's very gradually let the circles become smaller and smaller and smaller until you come to the center. And whatever leg you've got in front, let's keep that in front. Take the same arm and kind of reach across the body, up and over. And as you take these, we'll use the same arm a couple of times. Let the whole torso and ribs go with the arm. Yes, it's a big movement in the whole spine, really. We'll pause here the next time the arm comes back and put the fingertips either to the blanket or to the floor behind you. Press down to sit up tall. Yeah, and then we'll stay here and just turn your face to look forward and bring the chin down a little towards your chest. And you might feel a little stretch there in the side of the neck. Okay, let's bring the head to center. Unwind out of the twist, change the leg that's in front, and then the new arm will come across, up and back. Yeah, and do that a few times, and remember, it's not just the arm that's moving, it's the whole spine, the rib cage, the head. Sorry. Oh, that was you. I thought that was the music downstairs. It's all good. Next time the arm comes back behind you, we'll stay either on your blanket or on the floor. Press down to lift up. You can take the other hands anywhere. And we'll turn your face to look forward and let the chin bow down just a little bit. Yeah, and then we'll return the face to center, return the torso to center. Let's take the fingertips on the front of the shoulders here and just take a couple circles. And as the shoulders are circling, you'll likely feel a little bit of movement going on in the spine, like that little wave or kind of a cat-cow. Yeah, let's go the other direction. Good. All right, let the movement settle down here. Let's release the hands, just somewhere on the legs. And then let the rib cage slide over to one side and then over to the other side. We'll take that a few times, and you can almost let the head drag behind a little bit. So the head will catch up eventually, but the rib cage leads the way. Yeah. And then remember earlier we did those circles. We'll come to that again, but this time it'll be a little more focused in the upper body. So let's go to one side and then forward, other side and back. So we'll keep the circles going, but let it really be kind of upper chest, upper thoracic spine. Yeah. And go the other direction. Awesome. So let that one start to settle down, and then we'll change the position of the legs. So let's stretch the legs out for a sec and just give them a little shake, just a little asana, yeah. And then we'll reset into a Baddha Konasana, and I'll suggest kind of a lazier version. You might take the feet a little further away from you than you normally do. And then we'll rock from side to side, and as you do, one leg will come up and then the other. This one I like to call the Mr. Tippy Baddha Konasana. It reminds me of those inflatable things with the sand at the bottom. They always come back to the middle. And then kind of like that little gizmo here, let's change the movement into a circle. Okay. Great. And then we'll circle the other direction. And then in a moment, we'll shift into another position. Let me kind of explain. We want the transition to be as smooth, as seamless as possible. So next time you rock to the left, the right leg will come kind of out to the side here. And then we'll take our little rocks here. Exactly. And if you need to change your angle at any time, that's fine. Now from here, let's start with those circles. And you go at any pace that you like. And with the leg, we're kind of moving into resistance and then we back out of it. So we never stay for too long in any one spot. Yeah. Great. And then let's go the other direction with the circle. Yeah. Now, some of you might prefer just to stick with the circles, and that's fine. Some of you might, instead, the circling start to settle and you'll turn your torso towards the straight leg. And then here it's almost like a little pulse, kind of a forward back over the straight leg. And same idea, you'll move into resistance and then come away. Yeah. So the whole time we want there to be just a nice movement going on through the spine. And we don't want anything to kind of pinch or restrict. Of course, there'll be resistance in certain places, but we don't want to kind of break through any barriers here. Yeah. All right, so we're about to come back into our Baddha Konasana. Next time you come up, let's rock towards the left, right leg comes back in, and then we'll take our tips from side to side. That's it. And then when you're ready here, as we tip to your right, left leg goes out to the side. And same thing, let's start with just the little side to side. And then we'll add in more of a circle. Yeah. And it's a little bit of a sneaky way to get in some of these stretches, for example, the inner thigh. Sometimes when we hold the position, instead of the muscle lengthening, the nervous system actually, as a protection mechanism, it tightens up. But here we're sneaking in a little bit. Let's go the other directions. Coming in and coming out. And sometimes this can be a more effective tool. Now you choose. If you want to stick with the circles, just continue with that. If you want to try the other one here, you'll re-angle towards the straight leg and do this kind of like a little wave forward and back. Exactly. My pace with these is fairly quick. If you wanted to go into a slower sort of rock, that's an option too. If you wanted to go quicker, that's an option too. I'm going to leave it pretty open-ended for our practice today. Yeah. All right, and let's pause here. The next time we come up, rock a little to the right, pull the left leg in again, and let's take a few more of these. And let's add in the circle that we did earlier. So we're going to come back to side one, but then we'll change it. So let's say the next time we rock left, the right leg comes out to the side. And then just take a few of these, few side to side, and we'll pick up the right leg and we'll kind of swing it around. If you want to watch me do that for a second. Up it comes, and I'm stepping over. If you'd rather step the foot kind of on the inside of the shin instead of the outside of the thigh, that's fine. Yeah, so we'll turn towards the leg that's up. Back hand is on the floor or on your prop, and then just kind of press and release. Yeah, so giving the leg a little bit of a hug here. Yeah, some of you might be twistier than I am, but got something in the way. Yeah. And then from here, we'll keep the legs in position, but let's turn the torso the other direction, hands to the floor, and take a few, just kind of a little counter twist. Yeah, exactly. What's the name of this pose? Ardha Matsyendrasana. All right, friends, next time we press up we come back to our little tippies. And then we'll start with the Janu Shirshasana. So we rock towards the right, the left leg comes out. It's just really a transition. Take a few of these. And then whenever you're ready here, you'll pick up the leg, over it comes, or for me on this side, I need to be here. And then we'll turn towards the up leg, press down, and just create a little pulse here to enter more into the twist. Some of you will be more here, elbow to thigh, and just hands to the knee. I guess our other friend isn't coming tonight, but oh well, maybe she'll try again. All right, and then we'll keep the legs. Let's turn the chest the other direction and just take a few of those. I always like the counter twist better than the original. You do too, yeah. Good. All right, next time we press, we come back up to center, back to our little back and forth here. Yeah, if you wanted to do circles, we could go the other way that we did last time. Now our next little shape, this is another one you might want to watch, the transition. I've always called it zigzag asana. Some people call it deer pose. So next time we rock right, the left leg will lift up and it comes into an internal rotation. So we've got a zig and a zag. Yeah, and then let's start with the circles for this one. So it's kind of circling over the front leg, thigh. And now option, you can keep doing the circles. Feel free to change directions at any point. Some of you might, instead of the circles, prefer almost like a little pulse towards the shin, kind of like an up and down little wave there. Yeah. Now another option here, instead of going towards the shin, would be to come up and go either towards the thigh or even beyond, so turning back a little bit, coming into a little bit more rotation. So any of those are fine here on this side. We'll just spend a little bit more time here. Whenever I do this sort of practice, when I'm done, all I want to do is just like stand there and sway. It's like when you've been on a boat for a while and then you get on the land and everything's still moving a little bit. All right, friends, so from here, we're going to come back to our Tipi Baddha Konasana. So we can press into the floor, up we come, switch legs, and then back and forth we go. So now you know the transition. Next time we rock left, the right leg comes up, comes into that internal rotation. And let's begin with the circle, sort of moving into resistance and then backing away. And of course you can stay here, you can take a few rounds the other direction. Or if you wanted to try that little pulse over the shin, that's an option too. A few more options, just like the other side. If you wanted to do more of a rotation, either going towards the thigh or turning back a little bit, that might be a good choice for you. Or you can just stay right where you are. So this position here is a little bit similar to the pigeon pose. Well, in a little bit, we'll do another version, and if that doesn't feel like it, you can come back to this one instead. So, when you're ready here, let's press into the floor. Up we come, back to our little tippies. And then I'm going to show the transition for those of you who do opt into pigeon, and then if you don't, you'll do another round of the zigzag, yeah? So the pigeon would look something like this. We rock to the right, same internal rotation, but then we come kind of all the way up into this sort of, it's like pigeon-ish. Yeah. So if you get there and you wanted to do, you could, I like kind of the side-to-side sway. For me, that feels better. Yeah. Oh yeah, Patricia. Yeah. So actually, start in the middle of the mat. You face this direction. Yeah, and then so then when you come over, you'll be facing the back, but that's okay. Yeah. So yeah, so we tip and then just pick a direction. Yep, that's it, and then roll all the way. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Yeah, and now option here, side to side, or if you prefer kind of that little pulse, that little spinal wave, that's a choice too. And if I'm gonna actually stay in the zigzag here, so yeah, any of those are fair game. Yeah. And then Patricia, when you transition to second side, you'll just be facing the back. So I'll show the transition to get out. So if you are in the pigeon pose, you'd put whatever leg is in front, that hip to the floor, ease it down, and then up we come back to our little tippies. Yep. And then whenever you're ready to get there, we'll rock onto the other leg. Internal rotation on the back leg, swivel around, and then here you are. Yeah. Now again, you can do the side to side, you can do the forward back. Or you could stick with the zigzag. So anytime you find the resistance, you'll just meet it and then back out. Good. All right, friends. So those of you who are in the pigeon, whatever leg is in front, you'll ease that hip down. Just be gentle through your transition. Press into the floor, and then up we come, back to our little tippies. Yeah. And then this is our last one of these. If you wanted to do some more circles, that's an option. Yeah, and then everything else will be oriented the other way, so. Oh, this way? Yeah, you're perfect. Yeah, you're good. I should have mentioned that before, yeah. Or sometimes it's nice to have two mats, like make with the letter X, but next time. All right, friends, let the movement start to settle, but again, we'll never become like rigid, so just let it kind of quiet down. You can take the legs out in front and give them a little shaky shake. Bassana, excuse me. So from here, we'll turn over, meeting in all fours position, and we are going to be there for a bit. Feel free to have padding under the knees. I think maybe I'll set that up too for myself. This floor is harder than my floor at home. Yeah. And of course, once we get there, we're not going to be perfectly still. So let's take a little shift, just kind of a right-left rock from side to side. Yeah. And you might even find that when you go to one side, the other hand wants to pick up a bit, or maybe the heel of the hand lifts a little bit. Yeah. Have a weight shift. And then let's keep doing that, and very incrementally, let the hands walk a little forward and a little forward, so they end up ahead of the shoulders, but not by too much. Just, I don't know, just a little bit. And then from here, let's pause, and instead of a side to side, we'll shift forward and back. And I'm going to start out pretty small with it. If you wanted to go bigger, you could go back kind of towards child's pose and forward, even almost like up dog forward. So you choose. If it feels better to take the hands a little wider, that's an option too. Yeah. And then in a sec, we'll put those two together. So the forward back and the side to side. Let's pause here, just kind of somewhere in the middle. Shift a little to the right, and then any amount forward, little to the left, any amount back, and continue that direction a couple of times. And it's your choice, kind of how big to make it. Sometimes going forward doesn't feel great on the wrists, so you could go small in the front and then go kind of a bigger movement in the back. That's an option. You could keep the whole thing, pretty symmetrical on all sides. Yeah. Good. And then let's change direction. So just start, little one. Yeah, now if anybody gets tired of being on the hands, at any point you could change. You could go onto your fists. Sometimes putting the hands on blocks is useful. You can experiment a little bit if you need to change anything. Yeah. Good. So let's pause here. Take the knees as wide apart as you like as we shift back into child's pose. Arms will stay forward, and let's just go on to fingertips for a second. Give them out a little scrunch. You can lift the palms, you can lift the wrists. And then here too, if you would like to add a little bit of a wobble. For me, that always feels good, even in a non-rocking class. And then from here, let's reset, coming to all fours, and do feel free to keep the hands a little ahead of the shoulders if that feels better for you. And let's let the chest slide, the rib cage slide kind of over to the right. Yeah. And then over to the left. Take that a few times and you'll probably notice the head naturally goes the opposite direction as just a little counterbalance. Yeah. Let's pause here the next time we shift over towards the right, and then let the chest sink down like a cow pose. We go over to the left and then up like cat pose. So we'll take this circle this direction, and let's let the movement be kind of mostly focused in the upper thoracic spine, around the shoulders, the shoulder blades. You'll probably get some movement in the head, in the neck. Yeah. And then we'll keep this direction going, but see if you can move the circle down a little bit so it's more kind of at the lower rib band, the middle back. Yeah, and then keep going down a little lower so it's, the pelvis gets a little bit more movement in the circles. And you might find yourself, in addition to circling kind of around, you might be going a little forward and back too. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so we're gonna pause. Let's stay low, kind of in the pelvis, and then go the other direction. Yep. And then we'll make it go up a little higher, kind of the middle back, lower ribs area.
It's so hard.
Oh, yeah. And Patricia, there's not like, don't overthink it. Yeah? Don't overthink it. You're going the same way. That's okay. That's okay. And then let's go a little higher so it's more up in the shoulders, upper spine, head. And even if it's not quite right, as long as it's feeling okay, you're probably fine. And then we'll let the movement start to settle down, and let's shift back again into child's pose. Feel free to widen as much as you need. Let's turn the palms to face up. We've been on the hands for a lot. And give the fingers like a sea anemone curl in and out. You can bend at the wrists. I can't help myself. I'm taking a little sway side to side. You can do that too if you want. Yeah. All right. Now we'll head back into our all fours position. For me, I need a little extra space, so I'm going to use blocks. You're welcome to or not. It's up to you. I've got the blocks low, but any height, except probably the highest height would probably work. And then we'll take that little rock forward and back again. And every time we come forward, let's start with the right knee. So the right knee shifts forward, and then we take it back. And then the left knee comes forward, and we take it back. Yeah, so that's the pattern. Forward and back. On the first one or two, no big deal, but after a little bit, it might start to feel like work. But we'll never stay for too long in any one spot. Yeah. Good. All right, guys, so let's keep going, and then just whenever you get to the right leg again, we're going to step the right foot forward outside of the hands, outside of the blocks. Yeah. Yeah, if that didn't work, just get there. And now stay in this position, and let's do a little cat-cow in the upper spine. So we'll kind of extend through the upper spine and then let it go. Do that a few more times, and you'll get like a little bit of a rock going on in the legs. But let's for now keep it mostly in the upper spine. If you're finding that you get really stuck and like it just doesn't move, you'll probably be better if you go a little higher up in your blocks, or you could even have the hands on the front of the thigh. Yeah, so take a couple more of those. And then guess what we're gonna do? We'll add in the movement of the legs. So as we come forward, find that little lift, the knee bends. And then as we come back, the leg will go straighter. So do that a couple times more. Yeah, we do this all the time, but now we're just rocking it a little bit more today. Good. All right. And then let's pause here next time we come forward, and we'll take kind of a circle here, forward one side, back, other side, just kind of circling around. Yeah, it's fine if the right foot moves a little bit, if it needs to change its position. Let's take a couple circles the other direction. Yeah. And then are we still good on this side? Or, yeah, let's do one more thing. So from here, let's let the movement settle and scooch the right foot in a bit so it's not quite so wide, and come up here, just torso upright. And we'll do a little kind of a push and pull with the arms. So when we push, the upper back rounds a little. And then when we pull, we find that extension. So take that a few times, finding that little ocean wave in the upper part of the spine. Exactly. Great. And then when you're ready to be done with those, let's come back down. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. We'll move the blocks if you're on the blocks, and just head into down dog. We'll do the second side in a little bit. Let's take your feet a little bit wider than you normally go, and do a little side to side shift here. Just kind of a right left shift. Yeah. And as you shift to one side, bend the opposite knee. And that'll give you a little extra stretch through the back of the leg. two. We won't spend too much time in any one spot. Good. All right, let's come back down to the knees. And then child's pose, any hand things you want to, the sea anemone, the spider fingers, any of those are fine. Any little wobbles are fine. And then remember when we did that forward back with the knee coming forward? Let's do that again. So reset, blocks if you need them, and even if you don't use them now, you might want them for the next bit. So just know that. We'll shift back, and then left knee forward and back, and then the right leg forward and back, and continue a couple more. Good. All right, friends. Next time the left leg comes forward, we'll step the foot outside of the hands. If you need to, haul it up there, that's fine. Blocks are any height you like, and we'll start with just that little movement through the upper part of the spine, back and forth a couple of times. Now, sometimes one side we have a whole lot of luck, and the other side less luck. If you need to go higher on one side than the other, that's fine. Sometimes it's a hip mobility thing. Yeah. All right. When you're ready to add on, as we draw back, the front leg will go a little straighter. And then as we come forward, we find that little lift again like we've been doing. Nice. So we'll change into the circles whenever you're ready. Just start to move into that, circling around. And of course, if the left foot, if the thigh needs to angle out a little bit, do what you need to do. Yeah, and then we'll go the other direction. Good. All right, let's pause here. Pause here. Scooch the left foot in a little bit, and then up we come. Yeah, and we'll do our little push-pull, finding the mobility in the upper part of the spine. So that big piece of seaweed moving through the current, which is our spine. Yeah, you guys. All right, when you're ready to get out of this one, you'll release, come back down, tuck the back toes under, lift the knee. Let's head into down dog again. And just take a little bit of anything, any movement. We're going to come one more time onto the knees, but for now, just be here. Yep. And then same thing again. Let's reset. Down we come into child's pose. Anything you want with the hands, the fingers, the wrists. Just take a second. I should have mentioned this. If child's pose is not comfortable for you, you can always sit up a little higher and just do something like that instead. Sometimes that feels better. All right. So remember when we did the one knee forward, back and forth? We'll do a version of that again. This will be our last round. So blocks if you need them. And then we shift back. We shift forward. Let's do right leg first. And back. And left leg. It's deceptively core work, isn't it? A little bit. At least it is for me. All right. Now, some of us, next time we come forward, will stay kind of on the right shin. So it's not exactly pigeon pose. We're more on the shin as opposed to pigeon where we're kind of angled. If that's not going to work out for any reason, remember the zigzag. You can come back into zigzag instead. So that could be a possibility. For those of you who are in this one with me, you can do that little spinal wave. Yeah, blocks can be any height. And if you're anything like me, you might get a nice stretch in the back leg. You could do this with the toes tucked under. Sometimes that enhances it. Sometimes it feels better with the toes flat. So you choose. Yeah, good. And then when you're ready to get out, move our blocks if you're on the blocks. Yeah, let's shift back. Take again child's pose. This time, we'll add in something. So the palms will face up. Let's curl the thumbs in first and then the fingers around the thumbs and peel the backs of the hands off the floor. Yeah, so you get a little stretch through the back of the forearm, the back of the wrist. And then you can do that a few times, or if it feels good to make like a circular motion here, that's an option too. Good. So we've got our last side for these. Let's reset, open up the hands, wiggle out the fingers, blocks if you need them. Just a few times here, forward, back. That's it. Oh, did you hear that? And then the left knee will come forward and we'll stay. Yeah. Of course, if you need to do zigzag or a different position, that's fine. If you're here and you'd like to add on, you can add in that little spinal wave. Great. All right, so we're about to get off of our hands finally. Let's pause here. If you've been in the zigzag, you'll reset. You can get rid of those blocks. And then we'll press back and up, coming again into down dog. And this time, let's add in that little pedal that we were doing before, finding the hips shift one side and then the other, and just gradually let the feet step a little wider, little wider, little wider, until we end up about mat width distance. Yeah, let's keep that, bend the knees and then start to curl the arms back. And once you get there, I don't think we'll need the blanket, you can move that if you've got it. Put the forearms on the thighs. We'll circle the wrists and give ourselves a little side to side sway. And that might turn into more of a figure eight pattern. If that's what happens, let it happen. Yeah. And then let's put your weight more into the heels. Root down through the heels, and on the inhale, we'll grow tall, arms lift overhead. And then on the exhale, the arms come down. We made it to stand yogis. We're going to keep our wide position. Slight little bend in the knees, and just take a weight shift, and let's add in some rotation through the torso. And then from here, we'll let the movement settle down. There'll still be a little bit of a sway in there. Let's start with the right arm. I'll mirror you. The arm kind of comes across, up, back, and down, and then we'll pass it straight to the other side. Yes, we did a version of this sitting. And it might make sense in your body to lift the heel of whatever arm is moving. Sometimes that aids in the rotation. Yeah. Good. All right. And then we'll let the movement settle. Let's come back to just our little rock here, and then step the feet so they're a little closer, either hips width or a bit more than that. Yeah. And then we'll bend the knees. Shift the hips back and just shift a little forward and a little back. So it's tiny. A little forward and a little back. Yeah. And if it feels right here, you can lift the heels and lift the toes, alternating. And it might feel right to shift back a little lower, maybe not. Yeah, good. So let's pause here the next time we shift back. Straighten the legs, lift the arms. And then we'll come forward. Yeah, do that a few times. We can inhale on the way up. Exhale on the way down. Inhale on the way up. Exhale down. We'll take one more. And if you're not at the back of the mat, you get there. Let's reset hands to shins. Lengthen the spine long. Lower yourself down. Walk the hands forward until you get to plank. Now, if you're not planking, you can be on your knees or in all fours position. Yeah, the plank is a little bit challenging. Let's shift a little forward and a little back. Yeah. If you need to take the hands a little further forward to feel better on the hands, that's fine too. Pause here and then we'll shift a little to one side, other side. Yeah, they're exciting, aren't they, these wobbly planks? All right, guys. And then from here, if the legs are straight, let's put the knees down first. We'll come all the way to the belly. I'm going to grab this guy here just for myself. And as you set up, you'll be all the way down on the forearms. And you can either have the forearms parallel, you could stack the hands, you could interlace just kind of whatever's comfortable for you. Let yourself sink down for a second. And then on the next inhale, without moving the arms, try to drag them back. As the collarbones widen, the chest draws forward, we lengthen to lift, and then we come back down. So do that a few times. Find that little pull, lengthen to lift, and release. One more time. And then when you release, don't go all the way down, just kind of halfway. And if it feels good to add in that little side to side here, do. If that doesn't feel so good, you can stick with what you were doing before. Yeah. Great. And then from here, friends, we'll pause. Roll over onto one side, just whatever side you can see better, doesn't matter which. All right. And then you can either, let's bend your knees a little bit. You can either rest the bottom arm straight, or you could bend the elbow and hold the head up, whatever you like. And now this top leg, we'll pick it up, hold on to the foot or the ankle with the hand. And then we'll do pulling the knee back, and then pulling the knee forward. Yep. And as you're going along, you might notice the spine is doing kind of a cat-cow. Yeah. Let that happen. We'll go a little bit. The first few feel like nothing, and then after a while, it might start to feel like a little bit of work. Yep, couple more. You might start to feel it in kind of the glutes. Some of you will feel a little work going on in the belly. Good. All right, friends, and then let's pause, release the leg. You need to give it a little tappity tap you can. We'll come onto the belly one more time before we swap sides. And this time, let's have the hands in the cobra position. So hands kind of by the lower ribs. You'll come up, oh, this one maybe doesn't work for me. You'll come up a little bit, and then the shoulders, one shoulder rolls, and then the other rolls. And you'll just do that back and forth. If that doesn't work for you, you could do the forearm version that we did before. It's kind of a slither cobra. Yeah. Now another possibility, I'm going to demonstrate this one on my knees, but you would stay on the belly for this, is to take the hands wide, kind of off of the mat onto your fingers. And then you'll peel up through the middle, and on the way down, you could do a little side to side on the way down. Yeah. So if that one appeals to you, you can take a few rounds. If you don't like it, pick one of the others. We'll be done with this in a moment. Let's do last one. And then when you're ready, we'll roll over onto your second side. That's it. And you can either prop up on the elbow or rest the head like so. Knees are a little bit bent, and then we'll grasp the foot, ankle, or toes, whatever you got here with the top arm. And then we pull the leg forward and pull the leg back. Yeah, and the whole torso will rock a little bit. There'll be a little bit of flexion extension in the spine. Now the music slowed down downstairs. I'm finding myself slowing down. You want to be on beat. Now if I was a better teacher, I would have timed how, so you're even on both sides. I think it's probably good here.
I keep wanting to Shazam the song.
You want to Shazam? You can probably ask them later.
Yeah, with this playlist.
All right, and then let's release that. We'll roll over onto the belly just to transition up, and let's meet in downward facing dog. Yeah. All right. So in down dog earlier, we did the side to side shift. Let's shift a little forward and a little back. So you could either do, I'm doing a pretty small, like not that far forward, not that far back. If you prefer to go a bit bigger, you could do more like plank, dog plank. Either is fine, and if it feels better to have the knees a little bent, that's fine. Yep. So you do you. And then when you're ready, we will come forward, feet to the hands. So any way you want to get them there is fine. Yeah, bend in the knees, hands to the shins. Let's take a half lift, moving the chest forward. And then lower yourself down, little bend. Take that a few more times. So finding a version of that little spinal wave here. Yeah, all right. So the next time we come down, let's step the right leg back for lunge. You might need to grab blocks here if you like to have them. And then within the lunge, let's shift just a little forward, little back. Yeah, like we've been doing all class. Okay, and then when you're ready, we'll turn the back heel down to the floor. Open yourself up, come to warrior two, and at first it'll be just kind of classic warrior two. And then soften all of your joints, and let's sway towards the front leg and then towards the back. Yeah, so we've got this kind of little side wave going on. Yeah. And if the legs bend and straighten a little bit, that's fine. That's fine. Don't overdo it. We want to be just really kind of fluid through the movements here. All right, and then we'll settle. Press into the feet, lift the arms just for a moment. And then as the arms come back down, warrior two, look forward. Arms come down to the floor, back heel turns up. You could either do that forward back again, or if you wanted to do a circle or a side to side, that's an option. Yeah, good. And then to change sides, let's first go to down dog. So any way you want to get there is fine. Set, and then from down dog, I'm taking a little side to side. I can't help myself. You could too if you wanted to. Let's come all the way to the front of the mat again, feet forward. And just like before, we'll do these half lifts. We lengthen, and then we come back down. So take that a few times, allowing the whole spine to be a part of the movement here. Good. And then whenever you're ready here, next time you come down, left leg will step back, setting up for our lunge, and let's just take that little forward, little back a couple of times. When it feels right to get there, we'll pause, turn the back heel down, open up, classic warrior two. That's it. And then we'll soften and take that little side to side wave. Yeah. And don't be, too, just let it happen. Yeah, whatever happens, that's what it is. And then we'll pause back to classic warrior two. Let's lengthen the front leg, lift the arms. And then you come arms down, arms to the floor, back heel turns up. Option for a little forward back or a little circle or anything side to side, whatever you want. Yeah. All right. And then from here, friends, we head into downward facing dog. Just once you get there, any movement or no movement. And then we'll come up to stand. So either the feet can come forward or the hands can come back, or a little bit of each. Little bend through the knees, press into the heels. Use the inhale to lift. And exhale to put the arms down. All right. So let's just stand feet about hips width distance and take a few hula hoops. You can have a slight bend in the knees. Yeah. I wish I had you for more time, but I don't. Let's go the other way. Now in a second, we'll take a balance on one leg, and what position you take doesn't matter that much. So I'll just show a few options. We'll stand on the left leg. Right leg could be here, you could be here. You could do tree pose, you could hold on to the knee, anything that you like. Yeah, pick one that you can do easily. And then let's ground through the base leg. Just press down and see if you can have the base be really solid. But then right here, just at the very top of the spine, the chest, maybe a little bit of movement. Yeah, it's harder than it looks. Arms can do whatever. And maybe your movement is just imaginary. Yeah, maybe it's so small somebody wouldn't see it. All right. And then whatever happened, it's over on that side. Yeah, come down. If you need to take a little shift in between, take a little shift. All right. No, I wish we could face that way because the trees are so nice to look at, but the glare is too much. Let's do the other side. So the right leg is down, left leg is up, in whatever orientation you like. And then just like a real tree here, our base is solid. Yeah, grounded roots. But then the upper body, there's a little fluidity there. Anything is fine. Anything is fine. This side's easier for me today. Yes, friends. All right, let's be done. 2 feet on the floor. Oh, yeah. And if you need to wiggle, if you need to shift, just take a second. Okay. So we really only did like 2 planks, one, 1.5 planks. I think we need one more before we close. So let's stay at the back of the mat. And I'm going to take a wider stance. You're welcome to do that with me or just go regular. It's up to you. Let's bend the knees a little bit, shift back, hands to prayer. And then on the inhale, up. Exhale back down. A couple more of these. Inhale it up. Exhale it down. One more time up. One more time down. From the down, hands to shins, halfway up, lengthen. And then lower yourself down. Let's end up in a plank pose or plank on the knees or plank on the elbows or hands and knees. Anything like that is fine. And then from here, maybe you make a few circles, keeping the torso parallel to the floor, more or less. Yep, a couple times the other direction. Ooh, these are kind of fun. I should add this into my regular. All right, when you've had enough of this, let's put the knees down. Go back to child's pose. Any version, wide or narrow in the knees, arms forward, arms back, palms up, palms down. You decide. Little wiggles, little sways if you like. All right, yogis. And then to get out of this, let's just curl up so we can swing the legs around and then come down to land your back. Not quite Shavasana yet, but do have any props that you know you'll want for later. We'll have the feet about as wide as the mat, knees bent, arms either out to the side or just kind of loosely overhead. And let the knees go one side, other side. Letting the pelvis come with and the spine come with. So we end up taking this little twist as we're in the windshield wipers. Now maybe you just stick with this back and forth, or maybe, let's say we're going to the right, let the left knee reach a little extra and the left arm reach a little extra. Yeah, and then we do the opposite when the knees drop left, the right knee and the right arm kind of pull away from each other. If you overdo that, sometimes it aggravates the lower back, so just be mindful there and make sure your back is feeling good, whatever you decide to do. Right. From here, friends, we'll reset. Let's take the feet a little in so they're not quite as wide. Hands press into the thighs and just press straight forward into the legs. We'll back that off and go again, little press. Yeah, and then one more time, back it off, a little press. That's it. And then once we release, let's take the legs long on the floor. If you would rather keep the knees bent, it's possible to do it that way. The feet, the backs of the heels press into the floor. We do a little pointed flex so the whole body gets a little jiggle up and down. And this is how it might look if the knees were bent. You kind of do just a little chug. Yeah. So the whole body gets a bit of a wobble, a bit of a jiggle. when it starts to feel like work or just that you don't want to do it anymore, let the movement start to peter out. Yeah. And we'll land in our Shavasana. Final resting pose. Options, of course, to use extra props if you need them. Now, even though our bodies may appear to be still, there's likely still that little rhythm going on. It's a tiny little wave when you breathe. It's likely the wave has gotten slower here. So allow the breath to do its thing and the body to come along. I'm going to mute the sound for the rest of Shavasana, and I'll come back on when it's time to come out, just because of the little bit of background noise here. Just let your attention move back to your body. As it feels right to you, you can bring in any sort of movement. Maybe a tiny movement, maybe a larger movement. And eventually, let your knees bend and roll over to one side. As you do press up to sitting, try not to let the head pop up really quickly. So press into the arms, and that'll come up eventually, but it's not the first thing. Light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.